Welcome to r/A-HoleTax, where people pay the price for being a butthole. This is a story about my mother and the butthole who donated genetic material for my brother and me. They broke up before my younger brother was born, and my mother had to take him to court when he refused to pay child support. He asked for paternity tests, continuations, and delays to the proceedings. There was no doubt about paternity. This butthole strategy was that for each month of delay before child support was ordered, he would owe less money. Court orders wouldn't be backdated. This child support suit had already been in process while my mother was pregnant, seeking support for me, which led to my mother standing in family court 3 days after giving birth to my brother, alternately wading through other people's court appearances and going out to the hall to nurse her brand new son. Our father didn't show up, and his lawyer requested a continuance. Another court date sometime in the future, probably a month or two out. My mother said, "I would rather not have a continuance, Your Honor." The judge, who was a woman, said, "Well, we'll have to get a continuance anyway in order to correct this paperwork. OP's brother's birth date is incorrect. This date would mean that he is 3 days old." My mom said, "No, that's accurate." The judge said, "What?" Knowing that it's hard for a nursing baby that young to be away from its food source, where is he? Out in the hall with his grandmother. According to her, my brother's crying could be overheard even inside the courtroom. The judge, taking a second to gather her thoughts. "Let me get this straight. You gave birth 3 days ago and showed up, and he couldn't make it to court for no specific reason. He has also failed to submit income statements?" The lawyer tried to make an excuse, but there really wasn't a good reason. My father was just being a butthole. "Okay, what do you estimate his income to be?" "I know he earns $6,000 per month normally. I also believe that he acted as a real estate agent in the sale of a home that will get him $50,000 in commission. In that case, I am ordering that he shall pay $10,000 per month in child support until such time that he shows up in court with income statements that supports a different decision." My father called my mother to reach a settlement for child support within the hour. He also showed up punctually to every subsequent court date dealing with custody and other complications of reproducing with a butthole. He was forced to pay that first month's $10,000 following the judge's order, though. So when the dad calls the mother saying, "Please, I want to settle on the child support," I think your mom should have said, "Yes, but after a continuance." Our next Reddit post is from BeagleInTheSnow. When I was younger, my family owned a mom and pop ice cream shop. Our pitch was that the ice cream was made daily in-house. In fact, there was a glass window between the eating area and the production room. The room was staffed 24/7 and a fresh batch was constantly in the mixer. As you can imagine, we absolutely guzzled milk. We were able to produce 2 batches an hour. Each batch required 1/2 gallon of milk, which cost us $1 each. Combined with the coffee creamer and other dairy products, we went through around $2,500 a month of dairy product, which we sourced from one supplier. Understand, ice cream cakes carried out our largest profit margin. Not to mention that my mother absolutely loved baking. That said, they had to be ordered at least a week in advance. No rush orders. It actually took a week to buy the ingredients, have them shipped in, make the correct flavor of ice cream, bake, and frost. We were having a pretty quiet day when a man came in to order an ice cream cake for his daughter's birthday. Our manager, Kay, was in charge of handling cake orders, so she started with the standard questionnaire. What flavor, what icing, any text on top, and of course, when the cake was needed. To the last prompt, he said that the party was to happen on the next day. Kay politely indicated that it would be simply impossible to make an ice cream cake in less than 24 hours. But he got incredibly testy. "A box cake takes 2 hours. How does it take you a whole freaking week?" He followed with the fatal mistake. "Feel free to give me a ring if you get your stuff together. Lucky for you, my daughter wants your ice cream for her party." He left a calling card. As Kay and I were mocking it, we noticed something. The business listed on the card was the company from which we bought all our dairy. It was a local farm, and incidentally, we were actively looking to cut ties with them because they had been unreliable with their deliveries and left us without product multiple times. If there was one thing Kay didn't tolerate, it was customers getting snippy with her. Because we were an independent establishment, we had a lot of influencers try to work us for exposure. One had already tried today, and Kay was tired of that BS. "You're taking over for a bit," Kay said. "I have some calls to make." The next day when I opened, there were 3 calls waiting on the voicemail. One from the man begging us to make a batch of ice cream for his daughter's party, and 2 from his company demanding to know why we would no longer be spending $2.5 thousand a month on their milk. So just doing some quick math on this, $2,500 times 12 is $30,000 a year. This butthole is paying a $30,000 a year butthole tax because he decided to be a jerk to the wrong person. Whoops. Our next Reddit post is from B. Simmons for Prez. So there was this one time that an interaction with a customer went so sideways that I'm still amazed by the results. I was giving an existing customer a quote, and my boss at the time told me to give him a discount. We were pricing out some network equipment, security system, and cameras to connect with a point of sale system on their cash register. Honestly, I don't know why. This guy was always rude and trying to see how far he could go. I went to meet him to present a quote. Went to meet him at their store an hour away, even though he has one 10 minutes from our office, because that's where he wanted to meet. He wasn't there when I arrived, so I called to make sure he was coming. He told me he'd be there in 15 minutes. He showed up 2 hours late. Normally, the equipment and installation for this job would have been around $2,000 to $2,100. Even still, I did as I was told and I gave them a discounted price of $1,800. And instead of trying to haggle, he just said, "Okay, it's $1,200. "No, it's $1,800. "Yes, $1,200. The price is $1,800. That includes a pretty big discount that my boss wanted me to include. "So it's $1,200 then." "Now it's $1,900. "No, it's $1,200. And I want you to do these other things as well for no extra charge. Look, the price is $2,000. At this point, that's the best I can do." "What? But you said it was $1,800. "Yes, it was, but you're not even trying to haggle. You're just trying to take advantage of me. That's disrespectful, and you are completely wasting my time." End result, we did the job and he paid $2,000. Our next Reddit post is from Cheesegratersuicide. So this didn't happen to me, but I got to witness everything firsthand. I used to work in sales at a car dealership, and my coworker had the pleasure of meeting this couple. They walk in, coworker greets them, and right off the bat, the boyfriend is rude. They're looking for a new car for her, and he is there to make sure she doesn't get ripped off. They look at a few cars and eventually settle on one she likes. Everything is going all right, and she has a trade-in vehicle that needs to get appraised. The boyfriend says that they won't take anything less than $5,000 for it. The manager inspects and drives the trade-in, then sends my coworker over with the paperwork and numbers for everything. Good news, guys, the numbers came back great. Your car is actually worth more than you thought, and we can offer you $7,000 for the trade-in. Here's the cost of the new car minus the value of your trade-in, and the boyfriend stops him right there and says, "This is BS. He looks at his girlfriend and goes, "This place is ripping you off. There is no way that car is worth $7,000. They are doing something shady. We shouldn't accept this deal." My coworker has no idea how to respond to this, so he just sits there bewildered while these two are getting ready to walk out. The manager sees them getting up and comes to take a turn. Boyfriend tells the manager that they're leaving because they're getting ripped off. Explains that there is no way in heck that car is worth $7,000 and that he doesn't trust the dealership anymore. My manager is clearly surprised, but handled it like a champ. He said, "May I see the numbers we gave you? There may be a mistake." He looks over the paper briefly and said, Oh, I apologize for the miscommunication. This trade value was for another unit I was appraising. It wasn't. The actual value of the car is $4,750. But if we can make a deal today, I'll go ahead and bump it up to $5,000 for the sake of making you happy. Moron boyfriend decides this is a great deal now, and they end up purchasing the car for $2,000 more than before. We laughed about this for the next couple years until I left the business. How dare you give me more money than I thought? What kind of idiot do you think I am to get $2,000 for free? I'm on to you. Our next Reddit post is from HumbleSinger. So I was standing in line at the supermarket and the guy before me is getting his items scanned by the cashier. Suddenly, a very angry man in suit and tie storms in, pushes the guy who was about to pay, and in a loud and angry voice demands, "I did not get the discount for these avocados I just bought," and hands the cashier his receipt. The cashier apologizes, takes the receipts, and looks it over. The behavior of this guy is totally unwarranted. I usually shop at that same supermarket, and that specific cashier is just amazingly polite and helpful. The amount of money on this discount is probably something closer to $1 or so. Anyway, the cashier then pauses, looks up from the receipt she's studying while all the other customers wait. With an overly grateful and clear voice, she says, "Oh, thank you so much for pointing this out. I had forgotten to input the number of avocado. That will be $2.40, please. And again, thank you for bringing this to my attention." It was the smallest sum of money, but I could just feel just how good that felt for the cashier. And for everyone in the line witnessing as this rude guy reaches silently into his pocket and pays for his forgotten avocados, and then leaves without as much as a look at the staring line of people witnessing this. Hey man, discounts on avocados is no joke. As any millennial will tell you, avocado toast is why none of us are able to afford buying a house anymore. Our next Reddit post is from SirBobson. I had this experience a few weeks ago and I'm still fuming about it. However, I learned a valuable lesson. I work in the home services industry. One recent client had two similar jobs for me estimated at X amount each. It's the slow season for me and I don't want to lose these jobs. I'm willing to negotiate. The first job, I offer free services instead of a price discount. I need the cash and I'm willing to work a little harder for it. The customer accepts, but later asks for a discount anyways. It may cost me both jobs if I refuse, so I make it happen. Only my boss can authorize a discount and I work hard to convince her it's worth it. She eventually allows it. The customer signs the contract and I get to work. Halfway through the job, the customer cheats me into doing more work than was on the order, which means even more free services. I need the money, so I let it slide. Now I'm doing way more work on this job for less money than originally quoted. I can't decide whether I'm desperate or just a complete idiot. It somehow gets worse. When it comes time to pay, the customer pays in cash. She hands me exact change, excluding the tax. This is not what we agreed upon or what she signed for on the contract. At this point, I can barely keep my composure. In order to get her the discount, I failed to mention the free services to my boss. Had she known about it, she certainly would not have approved the discount. I went above and beyond for this client. I volunteered extra free services, lied to my boss to get a discount, let her scam more out of me, and after all that, she still stiffs me in the end. I need to get out of this house before I do something that costs me my employment altogether. If we start arguing about the tax, I know I won't be able to remain professional. So I pay the tax with my own pocket money. I make a big show of this and make the customer crystal clear that I'm paying part of her bill with my own cash. Her smug look of victory makes my blood boil to this very day. For the rest of the night, I stew. I've never been more upset about a job in my whole life. I'm so angry, I can't even sleep. The next morning is the second job, and I have no intention of doing it. I'd rather take the loss than work for this lady one more time. I charge everything the full peak season price, and considerably extra for the work she was obviously going to scam me into doing the second time around. The bill is now considerably higher than the original estimate. She gets absolutely no discounts, no free services, and she must pay up front. The tools are in my van and the van is running. It's clear that I don't intend to do this job and I have one foot out the door already. The lady is shocked and confused. She tells me she didn't pay that much yesterday for the same work. I tactfully explain what I did for her yesterday and how I can't afford to do it a second time. She uses that eternal line, "But my guy can do it for half that price." I tell her that it sounds like a good deal and he can certainly do it. I pack up my paperwork to leave. Her confusion turns to desperation. She obviously doesn't have a guy, and nobody in the city is as big as an idiot as I was. Now this work isn't going to get done at all. Cheating me was a bad idea. As I begin to pull away, she shockingly agrees to my obviously inflated price. I refuse to get out of the van until she pays up front. She doesn't even argue this. Not only do I recoup my losses, but I actually make extra on top of that. The butthole tax paid in full. Now, if a customer immediately starts asking for discounts and favors, they automatically pay up front, and I will never ever lie to my boss again. My job is not worth your savings. That was r/A-HoleTax, and unless you want to pay the A-hole tax, you had better subscribe to my channel and hit the like button.